I've been asked if I can do a quick video tutorial on how to make an armoured ball model in Wings 3D, and there have been a couple of links here to show me what kind of thing we're talking about. The ones I've seen a little bit complicated. I don't know whether I'm ready to tackle those yet, so I thought I'd try something a bit simpler. So I typed in armoured ball into Google Images and I found these, which I think I can probably get something close to, well, at least that effect. So that's what I'm going to tackle first of all. So this is sort of like, if you like, a simple version. So in Wings 3D, right click, look for this command here, N cube, go to the little button on the end and left click. The number of cuts, I'm going to enter 7 for that, and it's going to be spherized. Okay, the next thing to do is select face selection and draw a pattern on the face. I'm just going to come up with something arbitrary. I'm going to try and get it symmetrical. That's a bit of a challenge. So just work your way around the face of this with whatever pattern you come up with. Obviously the patterns are going to determine to a great extent what the final effect will be on the object. It won't be quite as angular as this after it's been smoothed, but we'll come to that. The thing to avoid, if you can, is this sort of connection. So don't try to avoid like diagonal connections. So that's going to be a bit iffy because it'll create islands. So if you can make sure that things are connected at 90 degrees or have got well, 3 things next to it, that seems to work better. But obviously feel free to experiment with this idea. So here I'm just filling this pattern in as I go along in a arbitrary way. I might add some bits at the top here, I don't know. Make that a bit thicker. Yeah. And I don't know, I just can't decide. Just making stuff up. Right. I'm just trying to create a bit of interest in this because I'll produce some renders at the end of it to sort of promote the video. So, yep, and one on the bottom here, I don't know. Maybe a cross or something like that. Then I'll have to look around it and see whether I've managed to make it symmetrical or not, which is the challenge, because it's easy to not have it symmetrical. Fill that one in there. So okay, right, so having drawn your arbitrary pattern and checked that it looks how you want it to, you're ready for the next stage, which is it's not a very complicated one, this. So right click and choose Extrude, select normal, hold the control key down and extrude 0.2, then go select and select inverse, then go select and go select less, and then right click and shell extrude, left click, hold the control key down and go out again 0.2. If you've created lots of separate islands, you'll find you've created a lot of separate objects now. If you want to deal with those all together, select entire objects option here, right click and combine those, so you can combine this into 2 parts now. I think I might apply separate materials to this while I'm at it, so I'll left click now for the face, right click on material, enter a new material name and then give it some material color to differentiate it from the other bit. Then I can just use the geometry graph, and if you've not got the geometry graph you can use window and select geometry graph, and if you've not got the outliner then likewise. So I'll just deselect that part, select that part, right click and then do material again, right click on material, call this I don't know 2, assign a material to it. Okay, so I've got the 2 bits made of different materials. Now select all the object, right click and do a Do Sabian subdivision. I'm using Do Sabian instead of smooth because it seems to keep these corners a bit tighter. Select the entire object again, Do Sabian again. It gets a bit slower than smoothing. This obviously is a bit more processor intensive than smoothing, but so depending on the speed of your computer this next step might take a long time, because you can see the progress here. Once you've got this smoothed, you can just export the object and load it into the render engine of your choice. If it turns out to be something like Octane, which requires UV mapping, then you could always use UV Mapper, for which there is another tutorial for, just to show you how to apply a very basic UV map to an object such as this. So that's it smoothed down, and that hopefully will look okay when it's rendered. We'll find that out in a minute. In fact, I might do one more level of smooth, but actually use smoothing. So just hit the S key now. And Do Sabian would take a long time if I did that operation there on its own. So let's see, that's pretty smooth now. So we'll just see how that renders when we get it into either Bryce or Octane, or even maybe DAZ Studio if I'm feeling particularly brave. Right, File, Export, Object, call it Ball 1, Save. And we'll just see the progress bar appear along the bottom here as it's exporting it. Depending on the complexity of the mesh you've produced, depending how many times you've smoothed it, will determine how long it takes to export and how big a memory footprint it is. Depending on the render engine you're going to use, you may need more or less complexity in the mesh to get the desired results. So essentially, bar this finishing its export, which could potentially take a while, that's the end of the video. So I hope you found that interesting, and that you'll attempt to produce some of these shapes in Wings 3D for your own renders. I'll provide a few renders at the beginning of the video so you can see what this finally looked like when it was rendered out, when it had finally exported, that is. It's not even begun to the exporting process yet, which makes me wonder if I've managed to crash it, which would be annoying. Export. Please export. Is that done? Did that work? I'll just check this now. Let's see. It's 36 megabytes, so it appears to have exported okay, so that's good news.